Let's talk about how to pass the Prudential first round interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here with another video to help you get hired. We break down the recruitment processes and interviews for world famous companies to help you pass their interview. Today we're going to be talking about the insurance giant Prudential. And if you want more help to pass your interview, make sure you check out our Prudential Pass the Interview pack, which you can find on the first link down in the description below. It includes a 50+ page research note with up-to-date research from candidates and what they found this year, including their recruitment process, the most common questions, other questions that came up, sample answers, as well as video courses, templates, worksheets and other guides to help you put together the very best answers for your Prudential interview. This video is split up into 3 parts. Part 1, we talk about Prudential's recruitment process and what you can expect. Part 2, we talk about the most common questions that we found in our research from clients who have been through the process and have recorded their answers in publicly available sources. And part number 3, we talk about other questions that we came across and what you can expect and how you should think about answering them. If you want more videos like this, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like this video and drop us a comment down below. I do reply to all the comments and I'm always really keen to understand how can we make our content better? How can we help you even more with your upcoming interview? So let's start off with part number 1 and Prudential's recruitment process and what you can expect. Candidates reported that the recruitment process lasted 2 months. There was an online application, but there was no record about what types of online tests you'd have to sit through. I would suggest it would probably be a mixture of numerical, logical and situational judgment tests. For the interview details, HR called to do some screening about your resume. Afterwards they talked about your personality and background. If everything was fine, you'd then get a call for a next interview, which was a face-to-face interview as well as a numerical assessment. And based upon our research from what candidates have been through in 2022, no candidates reported about there being an assessment centre. Part 2, let's talk about the most common questions that candidates were asked in 2022 for Prudential. Question number 1, what are your career goals? So thinking about this question, it's really important to understand the structure and hierarchy that you'll have to go through at Prudential. So say for example you're looking at being an insurance broker, an insurance agent, but you're already studying at university and you actually want to go on to be an actuary or design insurance products. Prudential of course have a wide range of products spanning across lots of different markets. Now if you're unsure about what that would be, that's really something that will be good for you to look into. Another thing that I recommend that you look into is, are you going to need any professional qualifications or training as you go through the process with Prudential? If so, what would those be and what would it involve? Question number 2, tell me about yourself. For an in-depth explanation about how to answer this question, make sure you click the thumbnail up above and you can also download our free Tell Me About Yourself worksheet. Now if you've never done an interview or you really struggle with interviews, I highly recommend that you take this question and you practice it first of all. Nailing a really good personal introduction sets the tone for the rest of your questions. Why? Because an interview is quite a strange thing. We're not really used to selling ourselves in an interview and also selling it in a short space of time. Essentially what you're trying to ask with this question to say, can you tell me everything about you and your life in 2 minutes please? That's quite a difficult thing to do without preparation. Now we break down personal introductions into 6 parts. What are you doing right now? What have you done in the past? And by past I define the last 3 to 5 years. So if you were a master's student, then what did you do for your bachelor's? If you're a professional, what was your last job or your last 2 jobs? Part number 3, what would you like to do? So this is a brief paragraph to say really that you want to do this job at this company and why. Part number 4 is you would talk about work experience. So, what work experience do you already have? If you don't have that, what about extracurricular activities, clubs and societies? Now, if you're a graduate watching this right now and you're in the middle of your studies and you're saying, well, I don't have any experience outside of my academics, then now would be a good time to go out and get some. Maybe just go and volunteer at a charity shop or join the salsa club and learn to dance and become part of that committee. But really, if you're just concentrating on academics, it will make it a little bit more difficult for you when it comes to interviews. And finally, you want to talk about your skills and interests. So these could be the languages that you speak, the technical skills that you have in terms of IT or other software, and also your interests and hobbies. And here's a little bit of a tip or a bit of a bonus. Why not end it on a hook? You might say, well, I also really enjoy writing poetry, and I recently self-published my first book of poetry. What that does is it just creates a talking point, particularly for a face-to-face interview. One thing that I always say to clients whenever I prepare them is, as soon as your face-to-face interview becomes a conversation rather than a question and answer session, you kind of know that you've got the interview in the bag. Question number 3, why did you apply for this role? For an in-depth explanation and answer to this question on a free worksheet, click the thumbnail up above. You want to answer this question in 2 parts, and you want to make sure that you've got the job description to hand. The job description is so important. Companies write job descriptions because they're basically telling you what is the perfect candidate for this role. Now, most of the times, job descriptions will outline more tasks or more responsibilities than what is required. And that's absolutely fine. We don't have to meet all those tasks, all those responsibilities and all those skills. The first part of your question, you're really going to want to answer and say, hey, this is what I would need to do in this job. These would be my day-to-day tasks. Now there's another kind of reason for this, is that whether you're being interviewed by someone from HR, a manager, a director, or doing a higher view video interview, everyone's looking out for keywords. They're trying to listen for particular words and phrases that are really important that candidate demonstrates, and they understand what it is that they're going to be doing in the role. So for example, if you're an actuary, then I want to hear that you'd be great at statistics, that you've got good mathematical ability, hopefully that you can use some kind of software, maybe at least Excel, or you have some experience around Python or SQL. These are kind of the things that my ears will perk up, and I'll think, that person has the skills that are required. And importantly, when you're talking about the 3 or 4 skills that you have that would make you good at the job, just provide some experience, some proof to demonstrate to that employer that not only am I saying that I can do this thing, but I actually have proof because I've done that, I've used that skill at university, or I did that in my last job. Part number 4, why this company? Again, in-depth explanation and free worksheet. Click the thumbnail up above. So when talking about why do you want to work for Prudential, the one thing that you want to remember is to pick out specific facts about the company. And I want to give you an example from our research note. With access to over 4 billion people, Prudential PLC is an Asia and Africa-led group providing health protection and savings solutions to more than 18 million customers. We are building the capacity to serve 50 million customers by 2025, and we will do this by digitising our product services with Pulse by Prudential at the core. And you could learn this from their About Us page, their Our Programs page, news page, all links that we provide in our research note. So you want to pick out 5 or 6 key facts about the company, making sure that they are specific. And if you really want to give a great answer, then make sure you relate 1 or 2 of those facts to yourself. Do you use a Prudential product? Do you know someone who's worked at Prudential? Do you like one of the charities that they give to? Relate it back to yourself and inject a bit of personality into your answer. Part number 3, let's look at some other questions, and we've got 4 here for you. Explain a time where you managed multiple projects at once. So this is all about multitasking. So a few constraints to set for this. I would say try and pick 2 or 3 projects at most. Why not 4 or 5 or more? Because you have to explain them, and that's going to eat up into a lot of your answer time. Most of the time when I hear this answer, it's from a graduate who's talking about their coursework, their part-time job, and maybe something else. Perhaps it might be organising something for a club and society, or a surprise that they were going to throw for a friend. And then really what you want to do is break down the steps to your answer. So if I had to make a recipe to create the project success that you had, what are the steps that I would need to take? Well, step number 1, I do this. Step number 2, I do this. So for example, at Job Ready English, we always have a couple of different projects running at the same time. And what that means is that we have to be really systematic in our approach. So step number one, we may have a meeting to discuss the project. Step number two, we would design a brief to outline the project. Step number three, we would assign tasks to different members of the team, and so on and so forth. But if we design that as a recipe, then somebody else could come in and would know how to go through the steps of doing that project. Question number two, why should we hire you? This is very similar to a mixture of tell me about yourself and why this job. But what I would suggest is all you want to concentrate on are all of the skills and experiences that you have which match the job description, providing proof within that. Question number three, what are your strengths and weaknesses? This is a big question to answer all in one. First of all, I recommend that you choose 2 strengths and 1 weakness. Choose any strengths that match up with the skills that are outlined in the job description. Now, a lot of people struggle with that question of what are your weaknesses, what is your greatest weakness? This is actually quite an easy question to answer if you answer truthfully and do a little bit of soul searching within yourself. So for me, 2 of my greatest weaknesses are organisation and time management. As somebody who I write professionally, I coach professionally, I produce content, I run a business, I sometimes can be a little bit disorganised, and that's not even including all the stuff that I do in my personal life. So I have to really work hard to be organised. I plan my day the night before, I figure out exactly what I'm going to do. I try not to fit too much into any one day because I know that something's going to happen. A client may need to speak to me urgently, a member of the team may have a problem that they need help with. Whatever it is, I kind of know that no day is ever the same or just goes smoothly. So in line with that, that's how I stay organised. I have a diary, I have a calendar, I have a way that people can book and spend time with me. We have an internal messaging portal for all the members of the team, and that allows a certain level of organisation. So what you'll notice that I did and what you can do is be honest about your weakness, but demonstrate the lessons that you've learned and the things that you've put into place to overcome that weakness. Question number 4, why did you choose to join this industry? This is a fabulous question, and I'm going to read you out word by word the directions that we've given in our research note to help you with this. This question is pretty common in finance-related industries like professional services, financial services and banking. Make sure that you're keeping up to date with commercial news to be prepared to answer this using the following steps. Keep up to date with some basic business news which is jargon-free. BBC Business News is a great place to start. Find websites and niche sites which are dedicated to your chosen industry. Do this simply by typing into Google your industry plus industry news. The top 3 to 5 searches will be trade websites designed specifically for professionals in that industry. So for example, if you want to work in audit, you would search for audit industry news and find accountancyage.com, which you can subscribe to for updates. You can also set Google alerts, you could use Quora and Reddit. I do highly recommend reading other people's experiences. I'm sure that there's a massive Reddit community for actuaries or insurance agents, and you can read about why other people do, what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy. And that's a great way to give a compelling answer to this question. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you watched it all the way through, please do me a massive favour. Make sure you like the video, drop a comment down below, even if it's just a thumbs up, and then I know that you've watched it. Let me know if this video was helpful for you. What else could we have done to best serve you? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming interview and in finding a job. See you later.